r/ask Reddit. What is the dumbest thing you've ever done while you were high? I was typing on the computer and kept trying to make the numbers uppercase because I couldn't figure out why I was just getting percent plus. Yep, that annoying shift lock key gets me every time I use the computer. Side note, I remember an article from the typewriter era about a check where the dollar amount was spelled out, but the numbers were characters. Since the characters matched the digits that matched the written amount, the bank went ahead and processed the check. This one time I was in front of my TV watching comedians in cars getting coffee. I had my bong on the coffee table between me and the TV. I am seeing Jerry Seinfeld driving someone in New York and suddenly I can see a cop car joining their lane behind them. I quietly and slowly took the bong down on the floor so the cops can't see it. That's just veteran instinct right there. You can't teach that. It has to be earned through experience. Future teenagers will never understand the struggle. We fought for these rights, man. One night I go in the backyard to get high. I leave the backyard lights off so that my older neighbors can't see what I'm doing cause I'm immature like that, lol. I got a glass of ice water in one hand and I stepped into my pitch black backyard. Every time I move I hear a sound like there is an animal stalking me in the many bushes in my backyard. Whenever I stop the sound stops, but once I start moving again it sounds to me like the leaves in the bushes in our backyard are rustling and there is an animal in them. If I try to go back toward my back door the sound follows me. If I move further into the backyard the sound follows me. I am legit freaking out thinking there is a big animal stalking me in my backyard. Turns out it was just the ice in my drink clinking every time I moved. I never felt so stupid in my life. This has happened to me so many times it's embarrassing. Sorry. So many different sounds will get my paranoia running when I'm smoking solo. Once I was looking at the moon and I was just noticing the details in it, and I took a step forward to get a closer look like a dumbass. This is totally something I would have done sober. Had to go inside and sizzle down after that one, lol. The bouncer at the entrance of the club put his arms out to indicate that I should do so for him to pat me down. Instead he wanted a hug so I hugged him. How did they receive that? The bouncer just laughed and was super nice about it. He still patted me down though. I got super blazed one night near the beginning of pandemic lockdown and went across the street to the drugstore to get some chips and such. As I approached the automatic glass doors I saw a person standing on the other side, so I waited for them to come through. I stood there waiting for what felt like an eternity. I was getting frustrated. Like, what's up with this clown? Can't they see I'm waiting for them? Then I realized it was just my reflection. I was looking out the glass sliding door one time at a friend's party and bonked my face against the glass super hard and laughed to myself. Gave myself a thumbs up. Then saw dude I didn't know laughing hysterically at me. I'm never leaving my house again. Edit. I just can't not embarrass myself in every possible situation. You got me at you gave yourself a thumbs. I microwaved cheesecake because stoned me found it odd that it was always served cold and not hot like it should be. And on a related note, piping hot cheesecake will take those munchies away real quick. This is ducking hilarious. I was making ice cream with berries and the strawberries were new and shiny and smelled nice. You know that smell. So I kept telling them how amazing they're doing at being strawberries and that I was proud of them. Food is such a wonder when high. This sounds like something Bob Belcher would do without being high. I convinced myself that I could really walk and it was just mind over matter. And despite my boyfriend and friends telling me not to, I rose up from my wheelchair and promptly fell under the pub table. I was covered in bruises, and I had a sore bum for days. My boyfriend and his best mate had to retrieve me from under the table. I'm so sorry but this is hilarious. I'm sorry your disability inhibits you from walking but this is definitely some funny ass high shit. Now I can do this, I got this, immediately hits the floor, lol. Thank you for this great story. Don't be sorry, it was a learning curve, and it was hilarious. Cheers for reading. A sober friend put the other high guy's phone in my bag. I found it funny so I left it there. I completely forgot and took it home with me. Later on an alarm goes, so I go investigate and then find the phone. Tried to tell the guy and called his phone. The phone that was in my hand. One time I was on the phone with somebody. I told them to hold on because in my mind I need to look for my phone. After about 30 seconds of searching my pockets, only then did I realize I am in fact a dumbass. This happened to me too, except my friend, who I was on the phone with, tried to help me find my phone by asking where I last had it. Never even occurred to us that we had to use it to talk to each other. Needed to go into the gas station to get another Dutch. Noticed for whatever reason my best friend's boyfriend had a full chicken costume in the back seat. I decided it would be funny to wear just the mask into the gas station. Didn't realize how bad I'd act up till the girl at the register started screaming for the guy in the back room. They had just been robbed 2 weeks prior. Bill the duck-eyed chicken is back again. This is hilarious. Playing video games with my bro. Split screen MW3. I'm absolutely crushing it, then I realized I'm looking at the wrong screen. My dude is in a corner moving and shooting the wall. I've done this stone cold sober LOL. My friend did that when we played Mario Kart. I triumphantly shout out as I finish first place and she does the same. I look at her screen and burst out laughing as she's repeatedly driving into a wall. She wasn't convinced that she was looking at the wrong screen, so we had a rematch and she did the exact same thing again. I couldn't stop laughing. Ate cat food. When I lived with my parents they had 2 cats. They would buy huge bags of cat food and put the food in a 5-gallon bucket with a lid and keep it in the garage. Usually to keep it safe from outdoor animals since it's the country and there is possum, raccoons, mice, and other small critters. Well, I got home one night from hanging out with friends and seen the bucket of food was open. I went inside and the self-feeder was close to empty, so I decided to refill it. When I went to the bucket of cat food I wondered if it was stale cause I wasn't sure how long the bucket of food was left open. So I ate a handful and chewed a couple times until I realized what the hell I was doing and spit it out. I still don't know if it was stale or not. It was just crunchy LOL. Today I learned you are a possum. I ate a dog treat while high once. In my defense it really looked and smelled like a human cookie. My friends will never let me live that one down LOL. I saw tiny bugs crawling over a little flower among the grass. I realized they had never heard music before. Poor little guys. So I put my phone next to the flower and gave them the concert of a lifetime. This is so wholesome and funny. Was holding my cereal in one hand and phone in the other. Went to toss the phone on my bed. Tossed the cereal instead. I have to consciously tell myself not to do something like this sober all the duck-eyed time. Had a glass of water and my phone in my hand the other day and had to remind myself to not throw the water on the couch. As I sat down I started to throw the ducking water and thankfully my brain was like, wait a minute, you just said not to. I've had sober moments like this with my baby. She will dirty up the changing table so I grab wipes and a new diaper and baby to change on the floor. My brain has almost had me toss baby instead of wipes and diaper to the floor. I think logical solution here is to just stop tossing my supplies. Very tricky brain though. Almost gave myself hypothermia. While on a hike I picked up a big ass rock to throw onto a frozen lake and break the ice. I decided to walk out onto the ice to throw it. Rock hit the ice. Ice broke. I fell in. Had to walk about 2 miles back to the car. And sober. Stone cold sober. I was high as a kite with some friends. I look up at the sky and I was in awe. There were dozens of shooting stars through the sky. About 2 minutes later I realized the stars weren't moving but the clouds were. Me and my friends waiting for the shrooms to hit. Playing some music with visuals on YouTube. Look at those stars in the background flying by my friend who was still sober. It's a still image. One of my favorite things to do on acid is play Animal Crossing. The grass texture in particular does some weird stuff. The first time I did it I had to ask my sober wife if the grass texture waved with the wind like the trees do. She just laughed and said nope, there is still texture. Then it started doing a lot more than just waving. Good times. I didn't feel so good so I asked my friend for a box. Probably to puke in. He brings a box and I sit in it, proclaiming it solved all of my problems. Did you smoke catnip? Have problems? Just sit in a box. I was frantically looking for my phone, which was in my hand the whole time. I don't even know how many times I've done this LOL. I don't need to be high to do this. LOL. Once I was eating a burrito like a ravenous beast and straight up bit my own finger. Another time I was gaming and my hands were cold, as I can get bad circulation. Well, I sat there thinking, man, it would be great if they made socks, but for your hands, and thought I had a great idea. 10 seconds go by and then, oh yeah, gloves. Had a good laugh at myself for that one. My friend forgot the word for a sleep mask and instead said eye muffs. Not me, but my sister. We were both high at the time. We were cooking dinner. Can't remember the dish. I think it was poblano tacos with some Monterey Jack. Idea is, you hollow out the peppers, put the cheese inside, then put them over an open fire to char the pepper and melt the cheese. Well, while one was cooking, I was prepping another. I can't remember how long it was, but for a good minute or so, I hear my name, the cheers, in a soft and quiet voice. Took me a bit to realize she was trying to get my attention. Then I noticed one of the peppers was on fire while she was standing there, staring at the stove, still whispering the cheese and not doing anything about it. Pepper tasted great though. Edit. Yeah, I kinda forgot a step. You gotta fold the yolks back into the whipped whites, and some flour as well. You want to be gentle so you don't lose the fluffiness, my dude. You're supposed to char the chilies first, then you clean them by removing the charred skin and remove the seeds on the inside so you can then fill them with cheese or whatever. Just pop them in the oven. Although, the pro-Mexican move is to whip up some egg whites to stiff peaks. Dredge your chili in flour, then cover in the fluffed whites and fry it for a true chili relleno experience. Anyways, just sharing some tips for easier munchie making. Peace hand sign. Peas. Some Mexican markets sell the poblanos roasted and seeded ready to fill. Serious time saver if you have access. Username checks out. Was with a group of friends with a bong in rotation. My turn in rotation, so I spark up. It was quite windy and I'm not the best, so it was taking me a bit. One of them said something that caught my attention, so I stopped what I was doing to say something. And then I went back to trying to spark up. For the life of me I could not get it. I was trying another 5 minutes and I'm thinking, why the duck can't I do this? The wind ain't even blowing anymore. I was attempting to spark up an open water bottle which was a bit to the left of the actual bong. Two of my friends were deadass watching the whole time, thinking I was just ducking around. But no, I genuinely didn't even notice immediately. At least it gave all of us a good laugh. Reminds of the time I went to the restroom, but as I'm passing I think to myself, damn, this is harder to aim than usual. I then realize I'm pissing into the trash can next to the toilet. Not dumbest but laziest, I microwaved something, and when I opened the door to get it, because it wasn't centered on the turning plate, it was a bit further from the door. So I closed it and restarted the microwave another 5s to get it closer to me so I didn't have to reach so far back to get it. Reminds me of that story where the Navy captain made the ship turn to get the sun out of his eyes during breakfast. Laughed at the popcorn ceiling because they looked like nipples to me. I'm a 40-year-old woman. My wife and I took a painting class the other day for Valentine's. The teacher is explaining how to paint the heart on the canvas and my wife is laughing like Beavis and Butthead because paint the heart on sounds like paint the hard on. I think you and my wife would get along. They do look like nipples, though. Was smoking in the car with my friends in the movie theater parking lot and my mouth got really dry. Interrupted my friend's conversation and yelled, "Guys, feel my teeth." Like, bro, your teeth are dry as duck. I saw my reflection in a Ruffles chip and cried because I thought I looked too much like a frog. How does one manage to view a reflection on a potato chip? I think it goes without saying that I probably wasn't processing the situation accurately. I forgot how 3D works. I was looking at a window and didn't realize why one part of the window was bigger than the other. Oh, because it's closer. Yeah, makes sense. My mom had a similar experience. We were outside on the porch and she was like, "I love that tree. Isn't it a really nice tree? Like aesthetically?" And I asked, "Not really. What makes it so special to you?" And she was like, "You know, the way it's all 3-dimensional and stuff." And I looked at her dead ass and asked, "As opposed to what? 2-dimensional? 4-dimensional?" And we both started dying, LOL. Back in high school, my buddy and myself would drive around and hotbox a few nights a week. We were always prepared with eye drops, gum, hand sanitizer, and body spray so we wouldn't smell like dank when we'd go home afterwards. Anyways, one time we forgot all of the post-chiefing essentials and were stressed that our parents would find out that we were blazed after a session. We ended up finding a bottle of eye drops in his car, but still smelled pretty ripe. For some reason, we thought it'd be a good idea to roll in a random person's front yard to get the smell of blood off of us and get more of a natural, outdoors scent on ourselves. So we go out and do some log rolls in this person's yard. Got back into his car and he dropped me off at home. I walk into my house and my parents are on the couch watching some TV or something. And they ask, where the hell have you been? Apparently the persons whose yard we just rolled in just cut their grass and my grey shirt was covered in grass stains and I had dirt and grass clippings and shit all on my clothes and in my hair. It didn't get any of the kush smell out of my clothes because they walked up to me and immediately knew I was stoned. I ended up getting grounded for a couple weeks and my friend and myself had a good laugh at ourselves the next day in class. I randomly think of this moment once in a blue moon and it cracks me up. Only one that made me LOL so far. I was picturing two teenagers rolling around in a random person's yard. The only thing that would have made it better was if the homeowner came out to see WTF was going on. I went through the McDonald's drive-thru and ordered a large chocolate Coke. I ordered a chocolate chicken. Then when I noticed they were confused, I clarified by asking for a chicken shake. At the register, no drive-thru. This has me ducking dead. I do this all the time and it pisses me off. I get some juice or milk from the fridge, take the cap off and be like, oh, I forgot to shake this. Proceed to shake juice all over myself, kitchen floor and my dog. More milk has been poured into my German Shepherd's ears than she probably drank as a puppy. I did that with a bottle of Chinese hot sauce. Looked like a serial killer had been in my kitchen. So this is when I first started smoking pot. I was sitting watching a movie in my apartment when I noticed a red dot light on the wall. It took me a while to figure out where it was coming from as I lived in a top floor unit. I noticed the laser light projecting from the backyard of a house that was on the other side of the complex fence. It was super dark and windy and it created shadows and it looked like someone was posted up in the yard pointing a gun with a laser light in my direction, so I freaked out. I called 911. When the officer was on the way I realized it smelled like pot, so I quickly lit an incense burner and he shortly arrived. I had a feeling he thought I was just super stoned, but when I showed him the red light and he saw what I saw, he freaked out too and called for backup. There was a whole crew of officers at my apartment evacuating the building. The responding officer stayed with me until his team went to investigate. Well, it turned out that this poor little older than dirt lady opened the door confused, of course. She directed the officers to the light and it turned out it was a motion sensor that she had got knocked over and the wind was blowing the tree and bushes she had, so it looked like people were in her backyard. From that point on I will never call the cops while high about lights. The cop peeked through the window the light was coming through and drew his gun and told me to get down, and Army crawled to the kitchen while he called for backup. Woman face palming. I bet the cops' buddies still tell this story. Remember when Larry called for backup because of a motion sensor? Larry was also high while patrolling. When Starlink first launched, my husband and I didn't know about it and were smoking a fat blunt up on the mountain. We looked at the sky and saw it and started losing our minds because we thought aliens were invading and the lights were their ships. Husband took a video of us losing our marbles because we were feeling impending doom. But then his brother called him a few minutes later to explain what it was and we felt like dumbasses, lol. Edit. For those asking for the vid mayo, the narration at the end is my fav. Had to edit out the first part BC identifying info. I woke up one morning and my boyfriend was like, oh yeah, I saw something last night. The only explanation is that it was a UFO. I was ducking, pissed like, why the duck didn't you wake me up to show me a UFO? LOL. Anyways, a couple months later I was browsing Reddit and saw people talking about these satellites and showed it to him to see if that was it. It was LOL. I never knew about them either. I would have thought it was a UFO too. Christmas about 3 years ago, I was home alone visiting my parents and got very high. The internet was being slow, so I tried crawling through a very small end table instead of moving it to get access to the router to reset it. I got stuck and in my efforts to free myself I knocked over a very ornamented Christmas tree. I left it knocked over and blamed it on the cat. Did acid on Christmas Eve. Still tripping when my dad made me get out of bed Christmas morning. Most amazing Christmas tree I've ever seen. Christmas trees are great on acid. We have a 6-foot tall fake one with built-in lights. Around November last year, when it was still put away in the basement, I was tripping on acid, and when I looked at the tree it was as if wind was blowing through it and it was swaying gently. I felt like I was friends with the tree. Was also drunk. Ran 5 miles in bare feet to a convenience store and fell asleep there. Oh, and my friends were also following me the whole time in a car, fighting me to get in the car. I ran about a mile barefoot on mushrooms, alone in the middle of the night, on a gravel road with no lights through the jungle. Can't believe I used to be that free and fearless. The sky looked like I could just fall into it, with 100,000 stars grinning and twinkling at me. I gotta say that sounds fantastic, except I would probably wear shoes. When I was in college I was super broke like most college kids. Like can't afford basics like shaving cream or toothpaste half time. I got high and went to an ATM to get some cash. I probably had $60 in my bank account and took out $40. But I was high and for some reason thought I requested $20 from the machine and got $40 dispensed. So, high numbers me was afraid that I'd get caught and goes into the bank, up to a teller and hands her $20 and said the ATM gave me too much. She was confused, since this literally never happens, and took my money. I shambled off like an idiot. ATMs don't give out extra money, LOL. I once took $100 plus out of an ATM while out of my mind on acid at a music festival. I managed the withdrawal part just fine, but didn't think to actually take the money before walking away. So funny story about that. I was in Reno celebrating my birthday and a year of sobriety and went to withdraw $20 from the ATM since I saw a claw machine I really wanted a plush dragon from. I withdraw $20 after pressing it on the machine and a $100 bill was stuck to the bottom. And sure what to do. I looked around and thought, well, this has to be the luckiest day I've had, and kept it as I continued on my goal of winning the plush dragon. I don't know if the $100 was stuck there from other casino goers or what, but I've never heard of that happening before. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.